Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, streaming, television, all sorts of good stuff. And folks, it is, of course, a glorious day today. It is Thursday, which means I am joined by not one, but two special guests in studio. First, one is royalty, actually. First of all, we have Aaron Cummings, and then we also have the queen of the Amazons, apparently, Wonder Joey.
She wanted to dress up in honor of our discussion of the Snyder cut of the Justice League.
She looks so adorable.
Petco has this whole new series that they're launching, or that they've launched in collaboration with DC. And of course, I realized that you have truly rubbed off on me when I mentioned something about the costume, and the Petco employee said, "Oh yeah, we have a whole new Marvel section." I go, "It's actually DC." And then I went, "Oh gosh, what has become of me?"
I've become one of those people. I've become one of those.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good to have Joey in studio. So good to have you in studio.
Thank
and so
you.
good to have you guys here with us today. We do have a bunch of things that we need to discuss here today, and here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to spend the first half of the show talking about a bunch of topics that we've got lined up, and then we're going to do the second half of the show, which is taking your live comments and questions. If you've got a live comment or question you'd like to get on the show, and it's within reason, go ahead and click on the tip link that's in the very top of the description of this video, or you can enter it in manually simply at streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show, again, if it's within the parameters, and of course, you'll be supporting the show at the same time. Also, guys, don't forget, if you have not done so already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to the John Campea Show YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on all the things we got going on here. One other quick announcement I'll let you guys know about. Now, you guys know I've got this little documentary coming out called Movie Trailers, A Love Story. That will be coming out by the end of the year, so keep your eyes open for that. But as a part of that, it's the first time I get invited to a lot of cons, obviously, to go and cover them, maybe do some panels here and there. I've never been asked to go to a con as a filmmaker. And this weekend, this Sunday, I will be appearing at the Baltimore Comic-Con. They're, of course, doing it virtually this year, but they're doing a panel on me this year. And
wow, congratulations.
I don't know who is conducting the interview. Rob was originally going to do it, but they've got Rob doing something else now. And I think the head of the convention might be interviewing. I'm not sure, but that is going to be on Sunday. So if you guys want to check out the Baltimore Comic-Con, we're going to be doing a panel on Movie Trailers, A Love Story, and I hope to see you guys there.
And that's this weekend.
That is this Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'll be driving back from San Diego, pulling in home at like 5 minutes to 1, and then getting on and doing the convention.
The Baltimore Comic-Con.
The Baltimore Comic-Con. So hopefully, guys,
great.
You'll be able to jump in and join us for that. All right, guys. With all that, we do have a couple of things off the top to get to, and let's start with this. One of, I think, everybody around the world, everybody with their disagreements over politics or sports favorites, or are you Marvel or are you DC? We all seem to be able to come together, join hands, and sing Kumbaya over the one and the only Mr. Tom Hanks. He's America's daddy. Everybody loves Tom Hanks, and for good reason. Now, the first teaser trailer for his upcoming film News of the World dropped a couple weeks ago, looked really interesting, had a little bit of a True Grit feel to me, the first trailer. Well, anyway, they just dropped the first full trailer for it. I believe it was just this morning this thing dropped, if I'm not mistaken. Still a bit of a True Grit feel of it to me, but it really gave us kind of the outline of the story, which is what the first full trailer should do. Give us the outline of what is this thing about, what's our basic narrative, who are our main players, and all that kind of stuff. It's being directed by Paul Greengrass, who directed the Best Born movies, and I believe the name of his is United 93. I believe that was the 9/11 film he did. I think it was United 93 he did. He's a terrific director. This looks wonderful to me. This is a Tom Hanks kind of feel, a Tom Hanks kind of vehicle to me. I think it looks great. I was very happy with the trailer. Again, I don't deny it's got a little bit of True Grit kind of feel to it, but I liked it a lot. Aaron, you just had a chance to see this new News of the World trailer this morning. What did you think about it?
You know what? I really want to like it, because here's the thing. I love Tom Hanks. I think he could do no wrong. I can't remember the name of the young actress. I literally just watched it right before we started this. I can't remember the name of the young actress that they're introducing. She clearly just based on the trailer, you can tell that she is an incredible talent that will have a very interesting career that I'm sure we will all watch as it develops. I feel like there's a certain... I don't know if I really want to watch a movie right now where the intro to the trailer is that this girl's family was murdered by Native Americans, and now here we have, like, I don't know. I really want to like it, but I cringed. I was like, really, this story again? Oh no, this poor, child. I mean, I feel like we saw that storyline. I forget what the TV
Dancing
show.
with Wolves? Oh, TV show.
There was a TV show recently where it was also like, this young girl. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going back and watching Deadwood. Not a new show, a very old show. But I was just like, I feel like I've seen this before. And that's what I go, there's so many amazing stories about what happened. Joey's totally usurping this conversation. She's over it. But, I don't know. I mean, I need to give it some more thought. Again, Tom Hanks is great. I'm sure the movie's going to be brilliant. I'm sure it's going to win all of the awards. I just wonder, where are the stories about, the reverse, where there was this child who was of Native descent that her whole family was murdered, and
really? Should we be sitting evaluating a movie by what it's not? And
no, I'm not saying that, and I'm not. I don't mean it like that. And that's why that's one of the reasons why I like to sit on things and really marinate it. When we're talking about, I literally just saw it 30 seconds ago.
That's true, yes.
And my first instinct is I go, okay, all right, sure. I'm not excited about this. That's maybe what I mean is and maybe it's also that I'm just not drawn to this genre of this time period in general. I don't know. I'm not as excited as you are.
Oh yeah.
I think it's going to win all the awards, and Tom Hanks is definitely going to get nominated. She will probably get nominated for it. I'm just saying, I don't believe that we should judge movies on what they're not. I agree with you. I just don't feel like this is the original content that I'm looking for right now. I feel like this movie came out 10 years ago. That's just my first instinct. And I'm not saying that anybody has to agree with me. I just feel like it's a little tired. I felt tired watching it.
The reason I didn't feel that at all was because, to me, the trailer for me put a very strong emphasis on the characters. And when especially one of the things I loved about the whole premise of it was that Tom Hanks is this guy, like, we take for granted that we live in this world where we walk around with global communication devices in our pocket with phones and stuff like that. And this whole concept of this guy that literally his job is he has to get on a horse, ride across the country to small towns to let people know what's going on. There's something about that I find fascinating.
That I got excited for. That actually, when I saw that the trailer opened, okay, I'll take your crown off. When I saw the trailer open with that, of him going around and reading news of the world, I was like, that is a cool story that I can get behind, because it is such a window into a world that we don't see anymore. But when it all of a sudden pivoted to, oh, I found this little girl and now my mission is, I
want to get her to her family.
Right. Like, what was the movie with Matt Damon? And, I'm like, this is the same thing. She's just Matt Damon's role now, finding Mr. Banks, or not that one. I can't think.
Saving Private Ryan?
Yes. I feel like this is Saving Private Ryan meets Dances with Wolves.
Well,
that's what I feel like this is. And I would much rather see the movie of Tom Hanks going around reading news of the world and sharing this information with people.
Right, but then you gotta have something that becomes
I know there's got to be a bit
here. There's got to be something to the story to do that. Anyway, I thought it looked really good. And this girl could be the next Daphne Keane, the girl who played Weapon X in Logan. She could be the next one of those.
This girl's career, they've said, when you have starring Tom Hanks and introducing so-and-so, and they mention no one else, you're good, girl. You're fine. Just don't start doing cocaine. Like, as long as she stays away from the clubs, she's going to be great.
Just don't start doing cocaine. All right, guys, question is for you. What did you think about the looks of the new trailer for News of the World? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. One more thing off the top for us to talk about, and that is this. You know, speaking of, you know, movies that we've known have been coming out and all that kind of stuff, one of the things that we were made aware of was that there's an Uncharted movie coming. We've known that for a while, right? Now, for the longest time, for years, Mark Wahlberg was attached to star as Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie, of course, based on the video game franchise. That fell apart. Nothing happened after years and years and years and years. Mark Wahlberg is back, but he's not playing the lead character of Drake anymore. Now he's playing Sully, kind of the mentor character. And we know that Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland, is playing Nathan Drake. We saw a picture a number of weeks ago with Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland in like suits. They were obviously infiltrating some kind of party. Well, now we get our first look. Tom Holland took to social media and gave us our first look of him as Nathan Drake. All right, look, obviously right off the top, the costuming is bang on. The costuming is 100%, 1000% bang on. That was like literally costume design lifted right out of the game and put it on Tom Holland. Now, I know there are still a bunch of people who are kind of complaining that Tom Holland's playing this role. I say pshaw to all of you. Pshaw, I say. Tom Holland is a terrific actor, and they have got long-term plans for this franchise. They have long-term plans for this franchise. And that's why I think we are getting a Sully that is a little bit younger than the Sully we're used to seeing in the games. That's why we're getting Nathan Drake, who's a little bit younger than what we're used to seeing in the games. People keep forgetting. Even though he plays a high school student, Tom Holland is not a high school student. I forget how old he is specifically. Let me look it up here. How old Tom Holland? I think he's 23. Age. How old is he? No, God, I stand corrected. He's 24.
What an amazing career at 24.
Oh, yeah. I already at 24, right?
That's
and look
wonderful.
At the stuff he's doing. He's got that new movie on Netflix, Devil All the Time, or something along those lines. I actually didn't like the movie that much, but he was terrific in it. He was fantastic.
You're allowed to not like a movie every once in a while, John.
It's true. I just did not like it. I wanted to. But he was fantastic in it, and I believe he's going to be fantastic in this. I believe he's going to be absolutely fantastic in this, and I love the look of it. I am giving this movie all the benefit of the doubt. Now, look, there's no doubt. This movie could come out, and it could be absolute garbage. Absolutely, it could. 1000% it could. But when I look at all the players involved in it, I have some pretty high hopes. Now, by the way, a lot of people complaining about the casting of Tom Holland, saying he's too young. Guess what? That's the way they've written the character. So if they didn't get Tom Holland, they would have gotten another actor in that age range. I mean, so just wrap your heads around that for a second before complaining about his casting. I think it's a terrific casting. I think it's going to work out great. Could be horrible. We've seen lots of movies that I thought would be wonderful turn out horrible. But I think the look is fantastic. Aaron, you had a chance to take a peek at this look of Tom Holland. What do you think about the look, and are you looking forward to this?
You know what? The first thing that I thought when I saw him was good for him. There's something. He looks more. I don't want to say rugged, because I don't think Tom Holland and rugged necessarily go in the same sentence together yet.
There is definitely a little ruggedness there to the picture.
There's just a maturity that obviously playing Spider-Man you're just not going to have. He's supposed to be that cherub-faced, little boy that you just imagine, doesn't have a single chest hair, and he's looks like a little boy, and everyone who's ever played him looks like a little boy. But then the problem is that they're pigeonholed as a little boy, and then to be able to then go on and play more adult man roles, that becomes, I think, a challenge in that transition. And when I looked at him, I go, oh wow, Tom Holland looks like a man. He looks like a young man who's who's able to be out in the wild, and just a more, for the sake of, theatrical masculine quality. And I like it. I think it's an excellent departure from how we've previously seen him, something completely different. A lot of times the issue with having, when you have actors who have such memorable characters, people want to continue putting them in roles where they're playing, where they look the same, because they go, oh, this is how audiences know you, so we want you to continue to look like this. But it's when you take someone like Charlize Theron, who says, I don't want to be the wife or the girlfriend anymore. I don't want to be the supporting character, so I'm going to completely transform my look to become something else. Renee Zellweger doing it in Bridget Jones' Diary. When actors have the ability to transform themselves physically, and granted, this is not a huge transformation. He's just got a little dirt on his face and some scruff, but it's a look that we haven't seen a lot from Tom Holland. I'm instantly intrigued by this film because of just seeing a new look on him. And I love the fact that Mark Wahlberg is able to go, okay, great, I'm still going to be involved in the project. He obviously has invested a lot of intellectual equity into this project. And so him sticking with it, I think Mark Wahlberg is a fantastic producer. And I think that he's done great. He's done great. And he obviously is a very smart person, which no one would have guessed when he was the Calvin Klein model. When he was Marky Mark in the Funky Bunch, no one knew that one day he would be one of Hollywood's elite producers. So I say good for Mark Wahlberg too, for paving the way for other people, for younger people that are coming up behind him, to have those starring roles. Good for all of them. I think this is going to be exciting. And I know that Tom is a big fan. My husband, Tom Degnan, is a big fan of Uncharted. So I'm sure he is very excited about this film, which means that I will be watching it, whether I want to or not.
Maybe begrudgingly, maybe not. There are a lot of people who they get connected to a certain property, right? So there's an actor by the name of Nolan North who does the voice of Nathan Drake in the video games. Mm-hmm. And inevitably that leads to people going, well, then he should be the live action guy. No, any more than Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy is a lot of people's favorite Batman, even though he only ever did the voice of Batman in the animated thing. And of course, he showed up as an older Batman in crutches in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover on CW. But that's most of the time that's not a good idea. He's not a guy who can lead a film. He has no experience leading a major property. Tom Holland is.
Well, not only that, they're completely different. They're completely different ways of performing. Leslie Ann Brandt, who is on Lucifer. She plays Maze on Lucifer. She's a good friend of mine. From Spartacus. She is now doing animated projects. She has an animated project, I think, that's set up at Netflix. And she was talking to me about how it's just a completely different muscle that's exercised when you're doing voice work versus doing live action. Because when you're doing live action, you can rely on your face, you can rely on your body, you can exercise so many different muscles, whereas when you're relying strictly on your voice, you have to convey everything just using that one muscle. And then conversely, if you are really successful utilizing just that one muscle, that doesn't necessarily translate that you're going to be able to work all those other muscles and be able to do the live action with the physicality and the facial expression. So I love that these voice actors are gaining such fandom that people want them to do the live action. And what I say is, great, give that person another live action role and allow them to branch their careers in a new direction as well. Give them a role in the project, just not the lead role.
Right. So question is, guys, what do you think? Now we've got our actual first look at Tom Holland in costume, in the role. Of course, that's not a substitute for actually seeing footage and getting a feel for it, but we're still a long ways away. I think the picture looks great. What do you guys think? Jump into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, let's now jump into our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. If you come across a big piece of news that you think we should make as a main topic here, jump on over anytime 24/7 to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Lee DeWald. And Lee DeWald writes, if it came, went, and nobody noticed, did it really happen at all? That's the question I asked myself when I read that the streaming service Quibi has been shuttered just 6 months after launching. Negative reviews, a weak subscriber base, a patent lawsuit surrounding its streaming technology, and COVID all contributed to Quibi's demise. I don't think COVID contributed to its demise. We'll talk about that in a second. According to Jeffrey Katzenberg, I attribute everything that has gone wrong to coronavirus. Everything. Your thoughts. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, it has come. It is now gone. Quibi is shutting down. All the major trades are reporting that they now have it on a good word that Quibi is going to be shutting down. Now, of course, Quibi, streaming entertainment network, likened unto a Peacock or a Hulu or a Disney Plus, with 2 very, very key things to make them distinct from all the others. Number 1, 10-minute content. That was their big selling point at first. You know, remember they did the first commercials? Oh, how long to cook that casserole? 4 Quibis. Remember they did that really awful ad campaign? That was a bad way to do it. The other thing that was really unique to them as opposed to other streaming services was no television app. No app for Roku or Apple TV or anything. You can only watch it on a mobile device. And that to them was a selling point. That to them was a selling point. Hey, come on a vacation to Hawaii. I'm going to punch you in the face with a pine cone. That's the selling point. Like, that was about as intelligent. And I thought for a long time that this is not going to work. Now, listen, there's a difference between thinking it's not going to work and hoping it's not going to work. I was hoping it would work. I mean, hey, more entertainment,
sure.
More companies offering more entertainment,
more jobs.
Look at the A-list stars. I mean, they had Kevin Hart and Anna
Kendrick, Lawrence Fishburne,
tons of people. They had big A-list stars with some interesting looking properties, but they never got around. That whole thing that it was 10-minute bites. And I said when they first announced it, I don't know that people are going to sign up for this. Anyway, this comes to us from the folks over at Deadline. They write, the return on that investment, they spent billions on this, never fully materialized. However, in its first 90 days, during a free trial period, the streaming app was downloaded 5.6 million times. Not horrible, but nothing compared to like the downloads of Peacock or specifically think about Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. The company said last month, but only a small percentage of those downloads actually converted over to being subscribers once the free trial paid off, $5 a month or $8 a month for an ad-free version. One third-party estimate put the conversion rate at just 8%. 8%. But Quibi vigorously disputed that number. So there you have it. Now, one of the interesting things was Katzenberg, who is a terrific, by the way, Katzenberg is a terrific studio executive, and he's a great entertainment executive, and he tried something bold and new. I was cheering for him. I didn't think it would work, but I was cheering for him. It didn't work. He was very quick to put the blame on coronavirus. And here's why that's garbage. Number one, he was trying to launch Quibi when a lot of the streaming services in that same era, Disney Plus was getting up and running, Peacock was up and running, all that kind of stuff. They boomed. Like Netflix went through a growth spurt because of, they grew because of coronavirus. Mobile apps like TikTok and YouTube all report that their mobile stuff saw surges in use during coronavirus, not declines. I would argue that if you're Katzenberg and you're Quibi, the coronavirus, as weird as it is to say, for your business might have been the best thing to happen to you because it helped out all those other streaming services except yours. I'm not saying that there's any direct connection to that, but I'm saying that kind of suggests that the idea that the coronavirus prevented them from taking off, unless you had to travel across town to watch Quibi, that would change things. If you had to travel across town to watch it, but you didn't. You had it on your phone. You could watch it there, and it didn't work out. Again, I'm not happy about this. I think the more entertainment, and I applaud them for trying something new, but I always suspected the 10-minute thing would be a problem, and I really knew it was going to be a problem that if you wanted to watch it, you had to watch it on your phone. Because about 37% of the people who watch the John Campea Show watch it on televisions. Watch it on televisions, which is crazy. a big chunk of them, the biggest chunk of people watch it on mobile devices. Certain people watch it on TV or watch it on their computers, and a bunch of people watch it on their televisions.
Like on their smart TVs.
Yes, on their smart TVs, whether they got an Amazon Fire or a Google TV or an Amazon Fire Stick or Roku or an Apple TV, whatever.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people, like almost 1 out of every 3 people, watch it on television. That's a big chunk of your demographic to take that away from people. Plus, if I want to watch dramatic content,
oh yeah,
I want to put it on my TV. The fact that they never gave, now I heard that they were going to put that into motion, but anyway.
They were trying to.
They were moving towards that. Look, bottom line is, I am sad to hear this news that Quibi is going away, but not at all surprised because of the certain decisions they made. But anyway, that's my thought on it. But hey, listen, bravo to them for trying to do something that was really different from everybody else. I do applaud that. I hope more people try, but just maybe not make some real big blunders while doing it. Anyway, Aaron, you heard about this. Were you surprised at all to hear the quick? I am a little bit surprised they're closing this quick, but I guess they're burning through money. Were you surprised at all?
Well, I mean, I think that them closing this quickly is probably the smartest business decision that they've made in this entire process, because they said, they had $1.84 billion, almost $2 billion in venture capital funds that were invested into this company. And so they're saying, instead of spending all of the money, we want to be able to return as much of that to our investors as possible, thus salvaging the relationships with said investors. There's several things that they did wrong. Number one, dumb name. I'm not going to say anything more about it. It's a dumb name. But number two, they didn't do anything new. Everybody's saying they're trying this new thing, when the reality is that basically they just took the model of webisodes and web series and they said, oh, we're going to do it, but we're just going to put a ton of money into it.
Well, that makes it does that not in and of itself kind of make it different and unique? Because the idea of webisodes has always been small, low budget, whatever, to say we're going to get A-list Hollywood talent. We're going to get A-list Hollywood producers. We're going to put A-list kind of money into this format. I'd never seen that done before, personally.
That's not discovering something new. That's colonizing. That's like saying that Christopher Columbus discovered America. It's like, no, dude, there's been people over here like having fun and making web series. I did a web series with Vin Diesel 10 years ago. Like, that's nothing new. Here's what I would have loved for them to do. Instead of like vomiting all these hundreds of millions of dollars all over all these huge names who don't know how to do short form content. Thank you. Go to those web series creators. Go to the people who have amassed big followings on their micro budgets in their basements and their garages, and go, hey, hi, I'm Jeffrey Katzenberg. I've got a lot of money. And you've got a lot of creativity. So I'm going to give you more money. I'm going to give you access to, to bigger name stars than you had before. I'm going to give you access to bigger name producers than you were already working with. Keep your same content.
Right, but they've tried that. They have tried that, because I remember a few years ago, like there were some studios like with Shane Dawson, like some very, very popular YouTubers and stuff like that, tried to give them money. And so they actually, like Shane Dawson, a bunch of other YouTubers, actually, they put out a feature film, and they've gotten popular influencer YouTubers, try to give them television shows.
I'm not saying that. No, that's not what I'm saying.
You're just going to say give them more resources.
I'm not saying take someone who's really good at short form media and drag it out so that it's not the same thing. Take someone who's really good and has been doing short form media for 10, 15, 20 years and has amassed a following, and go, hey, we want you to do the exact same thing that you've been doing for a small budget, but we're going to give you more money to do it. And we want you to keep that creativity. And we want you to take all of the people that are already fans of yours and bring them to our platform. Because then you have, like, if I was already a fan of some, web series or whatever, I mean, even a web series that was on maybe 5 years ago that is no longer on, but had a really great following and people loved it and was really creative. But instead, you're taking people that are successful in long form, and you're now expecting them to be successful in short form. And I'm like, why not take the people, and this is an example of someone who is so successful, but is sitting in the top of an ivory tower and has no concept of what's going on the street level. You know, these people who are, I'm not like, this is no disrespect to Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman for being successful, in what they have done. But this is where you bring in some young interns, pay them, and go, hey, what's cool right now? Because we're old. Like we're out of touch. And that's what it is. I feel like it was out of touch. They decided they figured, hey, if we just throw a lot of money at it, we get a bunch of, A-list stars, then it's going to be successful. But what they lacked was the creativity. And so it's like, you're not reinventing the wheel here. You say that you are, but you're not. And the fact that they didn't immediately, and also I said it before and I'll say it again, evolve or die. There were a lot of businesses that within the first month of COVID were like, oh, it's COVID, we have to shut down for good. Well, they probably shouldn't have been in business in the first place. Because if they didn't have the buffer of a month, there are restaurants and there are small businesses, family-owned businesses that are still in business. A lot have gone away, but the ones that closed within the first month, a lot of those businesses did not have a sustainable model anyway and would have probably closed within a few months regardless of COVID. This is also a situation where with that much money and that many executives connected to it who have been in this business long enough, they should have seen the second that this hit, they should have been like, okay, we got to figure out how to pivot. We got to immediately put it on televisions. We have to immediately start figuring out if we can find some content that can be longer form, because people have time to watch it.
Yeah, I mean,
so they should have looked at
5 million people. If you can get 5 million people to sign up and try it, and only 8% hang around. But I will say, again, I still believe this is different because when you look at the arena it was in, it's in the arena with Disney Plus, with Hulu, with Netflix. Out of all of those, it really did stand as the most unique and it really did differentiate itself from all those other services, which let's face it, some do it better than others, but they're all basically the same thing. All those things are the same thing. Quibi tried to do something different.
Right, but those other platforms are also offering familiar content. You can go to Peacock and see Battlestar Galactica. You can go to Apple and see whatever they offer. You can go to Disney and see their whole catalog. They had, they bring you in with, hey, you can watch every episode of The Office. And by the way, we have our original programming too. All Quibi offered was original programming. And I was like, I didn't ask for it. I don't want it.
All right. Well, guys, the question is, I don't think anybody's surprised. I will admit, I'm a little surprised of how quickly the door shut. But like Aaron said, it probably was wise. If they saw the writing on the wall, why just burn through more money when they don't have to? Question is, guys, what do you think about it? Were you a Quibi subscriber? I don't personally know anybody who's a Quibi subscriber. Were you? What do you think about this closure? Were you surprised? Did you think they might last a little bit longer? Jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Veronica V. And Veronica V writes, hello, John, and I hope your day is going well. It is going well, Veronica, thank you. I wanted to know your thoughts on the Charlie Brown specials going exclusively to Apple Plus. Watching the Charlie Brown Halloween and Christmas specials have been family traditions since I was a child. Isn't it sort of short-sighted to not allow people to watch them unless they have Apple Plus? Thanks. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, listen, we are now in what we are all affectionately calling the streaming wars. There is jockeying for position of getting certain content, creating the next big thing, getting that valuable IP onto your streaming platform. And it's just the beginning, folks. Believe me, it is just the beginning. There is more coming. And one of those things that has now made a sort of transition, maybe becoming, if you want to use this type of verbiage, a casualty of the streaming wars, if you will, is the Charlie Brown specials. This is what got reported out of MovieWeb. They're saying Apple TV Plus has teamed up with Wild Brain along with Peanuts Worldwide and Lee Mendelson Film Productions to become the home for all things Peanuts, bringing together new original series and specials along with iconic beloved specials of fans around the world, all in one place. Now, what is interesting is that in announcing all this, Peanuts went online, and the Peanuts company said, "Hey, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown is now streaming exclusively on Apple TV Plus. Watch it for free from October 30th to November 1st." So they're giving some kind of window there where everybody can jump on and watch it if you want. And get ready for more Peanuts specials this holiday season. Okay. This news, while on one hand is just another day, a certain property IP has been acquired by a certain platform. Nothing new here. We talk about this stuff all the time. What makes us a little bit different, and what has gotten some people a little bit upset, is the fact that you are talking about, when you're talking about the Charlie Brown Halloween special, the Great Pumpkin, or that damn little tree in the Christmas special, you are talking about arguably, and I don't like using this word, but you're talking about institutions. You're talking about traditions that families and kids like me were watching since I was a child with my family, and watching it. I'll tell you right now, I don't care if it's not cool. I watch a Charlie Brown Halloween special and the Charlie Brown Christmas special every freaking year. I watch it every year. It is a part of that. But now it's been acquired, as all IPs are up for grabs. It's been acquired by the folks at Apple TV Plus. That means if you're going to watch, generally speaking, other than a little short free preview window, if you want to watch the Charlie Brown stuff and you don't own a copy of it or whatever, you're going to have Apple TV Plus to watch it. Is this short-sighted? I'm going to say something very unpopular. No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I'll tell you why. If I wasn't already an Apple TV Plus subscriber, and I only am because I bought my iPad at the right time, so I got a free year of it. And by the way, Apple just sent out like an email to like all the people who got that free, and they're extending our free thing for like another 6 months after the year. So it's going to be like a free year and a half I get it for. So
I got a new phone too, so same thing.
So you should be getting that offer. So here's the thing. It is brilliant because honestly, for me, if I wasn't already an Apple TV Plus subscriber, I would be really close to getting it because I'd be hearing about how great the morning show is. And I'd be hearing about how great Ted Lasso is. Oh my God, Ted Lasso is so good. I'd be hearing about all that. So I'd probably be on the fence to find out now. If I want to watch Charlie Brown, I got to get it. That would probably push me over the edge. I'd be like, okay, it's done. I'll sign up for the $5 a month to get Apple TV Plus. From a content strategy point of view, this is brilliant because number one, it probably wasn't that expensive. Let's face it, Charlie Brown isn't the world's biggest IP right now.
Right.
So it probably wasn't all that expensive or all that hard for them to get. And it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs. Listen, here we are. We're talking about Apple TV Plus right now and its partnership with Charlie Brown. So look, is it unfortunate that some people won't be able to watch these specials now? Yeah, but as precious as they are to me, these pieces of content are still just pieces of content, and somebody's going to buy the rights to them, and it's going to be on their platforms. And in some ways it sucks, but I get it, and I actually think it's a pretty smart move on their part, even though I know that's not a popular thing to say right now. Aaron, you heard about this. How do you feel about the Charlie Brown stuff going to a specific, paid streaming service like Apple TV Plus? What do you think?
Well, I think it's also important to reiterate what you said, which is that it is available for free, even if you are not a paid subscriber, for 3 days, for October 30th, October 31st, and November 1st. And the difference between what we had before and what we have now is that before, when it was airing a couple of times on CBS, or initially it was CBS, and then in 2001 it moved over to ABC, you had to watch it at a certain time. And,
that's true, yeah.
And now people are going to have the freedom during a 72-hour window to be able to watch it whenever it's convenient for their family, whether they're subscribers or not. And then, and I don't know if that means it's just that show or if Apple TV Plus and their entire catalog will be available.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They weren't.
I don't know.
That.
So, so I think it's also important to recognize that one of the reasons why it is an institution is because for old farts like us, we didn't have that much that many options when we were growing up. When you take the Gen Xers and maybe half of the millennial generation, we were all gathered around the televisions, watching one of 3 networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. This is even pre-Fox. And so there weren't that many options for television. I don't know how many families are gathering around the TV and watching ABC anymore. I don't know how many kids would even be watching this, the Peanut special other than their own parents' nostalgia. So I think that this is the people that are, clutching their pearls and whinging about it, I think are more people of our generation that feel like, these poor children, it's being stripped away from them. Well, they probably weren't going to be watching it in the first place unless their parents were going to say, oh my gosh, we have to watch this because of, my own nostalgia, which if that's the case, the parents are still going to go, we need to watch this. The people that are, going to miss out on it are people who don't have access to, great Wi-Fi, I guess. Who live out in the middle of the boonies, like where I grew up, where my parents currently live, which have terrible streaming. So I guess, I don't know. I don't think that this, I've been looking at a lot of the headlines and they're all like, Lucy is stealing the football from Charlie and no one's gonna be able to watch it except for the rich kids. I'm like, no, this is not like Fraggle Rock when I was a poor child and my parents wouldn't get me HBO. Like, you have access to it.
Now I got the Fraggle Rock song in my head. But
well, I don't, because I grew up as a poor child and we couldn't afford HBO. So I hope you feel good about yourself, John.
In here, it's like some people are going to say, "Oh, but it used to be free and now it's not free." Well, no, it was never free. It was never free. And listen, put yourself in the position of Peanuts Worldwide, right?
Can you clarify what you mean by it's never free? I mean, I know what you're talking about, but just for people.
That's what I'm getting. So put yourself in the shoes of Peanuts Worldwide, right? The company that Charles Schultz's his kids now, whatever they run this thing. And you have an opportunity. You've got employees. You're trying to maintain this legacy of your father. You're trying to keep this character alive, and blah blah. And you have these network television stations, which they're not going to put a lot of money into promoting your stuff. They're going to put it on, but they're not going to promote Charlie Brown a lot. They're not going to put Charlie Brown.
It's old hat to them.
And they're only willing to pay you $10. I'm just using hypothetical terms here. They're willing to pay you $10. What can you as a company do with $10? Now comes along a little bit of a bidding war. Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV Plus come along, and they'll say, we'll give you $1,000. Well, you know what? I can keep a bunch of people employed with $1,000. Mm-hmm. Oh, and you, Amazon or Apple TV Plus, you're committing that as a part of getting it. We're really going to put our marketing behind this. We're going to promote this. We're going to make sure Charlie Brown stays alive. And so there is huge cost and huge financial considerations. And for them, like, it's easy. Everybody is an expert and has an opinion about how other people should spend their money, right? We all say, oh, no, give us Charlie Brown just for free. Well, you're paying for cable and you're paying for, by the way, I'm a cable cutter. I get YouTube TV, but I pay like $60 a month for YouTube TV. So I got to pay to watch Charlie Brown if it was on ABC. I actually theoretically speaking, I'm going to be paying less to watch Charlie Brown on Apple TV Plus than I would be paying other ways. So, I mean, you got to pay something to watch Charlie Brown. It's just a matter of where it is now. And look, do I wish that Peanuts Worldwide had got given an offer from a broadcast network on the same level that probably an Apple TV Plus and probably what a Netflix was offering them, so they could just put it on broadcast TV? Sure. But they didn't, and they found a better deal, and they're going to get behind it, and they're going to market it, and they're going to celebrate Charlie Brown probably more than the broadcast networks did. And to me, it's a win.
What I would also like to propose, and I'm actually asking you, the viewers out there, feel free to at me on Twitter and let me know. As I was reading about this, I was like, you know what I would like to do is I would like to find a school or two and see if it's possible to, like, I'm happy to sponsor one school and go, hey, I want to figure out a way to, put this on a TV in a classroom and maybe talk to a superintendent and say, hey, can we have, an hour or something where we can show this? Or I know that I've done some work with the LA Mission downtown. There's a lot of homeless families down there. My goal for today and through the weekend is I'm going to start investigating how can I figure out one place where I can put this on a TV somewhere, either in a shelter or in a classroom, so that maybe some kids who might not have access to this can see it. I'm going to obviously make sure that that's legal.
Yeah, I'm not sure the legalities of that.
But you know what? I'm going to look into it.
Right.
I'm going to do some investigating. If you want to do some investigating too. But if you really are adamant that kids need to be able to see, it's the Great Pumpkin Patch Charlie Brown or whatever the hell it's called.
Pumpkin.
Yeah, the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. If you want to do that, let's put our brains behind it. I think that we can make sure that this institution does not die.
I love Charlie Brown. I don't care. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this move over to Apple TV? It's the big popular thing right now to say, oh, this is terrible. But honestly, I think if we all take a step back, I think it's probably a good move. Maybe you disagree. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move on to our third and final main topic today. And our third and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Ita. I'm just going to go with Ita. And Ita writes, "Hey, John. So the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Jared Leto will be back to play Joker in Zack Snyder's Justice League, joining the shooting of additional scenes for the Snyder Cut. What do you think about this? But also, is this even more proof that the HBO Max Justice League is not going to be the director's cut they had said, but more of a do-over of the story?" All right, thanks for sending that in, Ida. I appreciate that. All right, let's talk about this. We live in a world where Jamie Foxx is coming back to play Electro. I didn't think we lived in that world. I didn't think that world existed. And yet here we are. We're in that world where he's coming back. We are living in a world, my friends, where Ben Affleck is coming back, glory be, to play Batman again. To what degree, I don't know that he's going to do in The Flash, but still, it doesn't matter. He's coming back. I didn't think we lived in that world. I didn't think that world existed. And yet here we are. And I'll tell you what, I am one of the few people on this globe we call planet Earth to have always appreciated, and I don't care what anybody else says, I like Jared Leto's Joker. Do I like it as good as Heath's Joker? No. Do I like it as good as Jack's Joker? No. Do I like it as much as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker? No. But I like Jared Leto's Joker. I think it was a fun, different take on Joker that made it totally unique from everybody else's. And my favorite parts of Suicide Squad, as much of a hot mess that movie is, I still had fun with it. But as much of a hot mess of the movie, my favorite parts of that movie was this twisted, toxic, awful, codependent, nasty relationship between Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, and his Joker. I ate it up. So I always love that stuff. There are two things I want to talk about.
Okay.
Two very important points I want to make. And they're going to seem like they're completely opposite, but they're actually not. They go hand in hand, and one is because of the other. The first point I want to make, to lay some groundwork here, is this settles it. This whole thing about, this whole debate about, was the Zack Snyder cut ever a complete thing? Obviously it wasn't.
Right.
I mean, I spent almost 2 years being screamed at by people that it's done, it's ready to go. Zack Snyder said it was finished. Zack Snyder has never said any such thing. Zack Snyder is not a liar. But I had thousands and thousands and thousands. It's done, it's finished. Like, no, there's not. There is not a finished, completed Snyder cut that all Warner Brothers has to do is snap their fingers and release it. He's got a cut. He worked on it forever. He showed the Warner Brothers executives his cut of the film years ago, but it's not a finished film. They did a bunch of, they announced they're going to do reshoots. But what's interesting is when they first announced that HBO was going to pick this up, and I've been saying for 6 months they should do that. When HBO announced that they were going to pick it up, they initially said there's not going to be any additional photography. They said they're going to just do some ADR. They're going to do some audio pickups, right? But then that turned into, no, now they're going to do some additional shooting. And a bunch of people was like, oh, but I thought Zack Snyder said he was done shooting. My defense of that, though, is that any movie, any big blockbuster movie, once it's done shooting, will be given an opportunity to do some reshoots and some pickup shooting. Every movie has that opportunity. No reason Zack Snyder's Justice League should not also have that opportunity, right? But now comes this thing that Jared Leto. Now they're adding Jared Leto. into it. By the way, nothing was ever shot with Jared. Variety confirmed this today, that Jared Leto, there was never shot anything for the original Justice League. So now they're adding Jared Leto. We'll talk about that in just a second. This brings us back to something that the head of HBO and the head of Warner Media, Bob, I believe you pronounce his name, Greenblatt, who's the chairman of Warner Media and the head of all things HBO. When he said this, and I think this sheds some more light on this, it isn't easy. It isn't as easy as going to the vault and there's a Snyder cut sitting there to put out, Greenblatt said. It does not exist. Zack is actually building it. Like now, Zack is building what is the Snyder Cut, and it's complex, including new VFX shots. It is listen to this, it is a radical rethinking of that movie. And it's complicated and wildly expensive. I'll just say, I wish it was just 30 million and stop there. Reports are saying it's actually closer to 70 million now. It's an enormous undertaking and very complex. Again, this is the head of Warner Media. Let's read this comment again. It isn't as easy as going to the vault and there's a Snyder Cut sitting there to put out. Greenblatt said, it does not exist. Zack is actually building it. And it's complex, including new VFX shots. It's a radical rethinking of that movie. And it's complicated and wildly expensive. I'll just say I wish it was 30 million and stop there. It's an enormous undertaking, very complex. Some reports saying, it's like 70 million. I think what is very, very clear here, now that we look at these comments in light of the recent developments, because these comments were made about 3 months ago that Bob said this.
Really?
Yeah, these comments were made about 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
But I think everybody, including myself, kind of glossed over some of the words he was saying. Like when he's saying, this isn't what was originally shot. Look at these words. It's a radical rethinking of that movie. Zack's actually just building the movie now. So what this tells me is that even people like me who said, yeah, he shot the movie, but it's just not ready to go out. Even I underestimated how truly unfinished this whole Zack Snyder cut has really been. And how actually different this thing that comes out on HBO is going to be from what Zack originally was going to do. That's point number one. This is a very different project now. It's irrefutable. I mean, again, we just go to the head of Warner Media. No, this is a radical rethinking of this movie. We're spending up to $70 million. That's more than most movies cost to make in their entirety. And now we're adding in Jared Leto's Joker. There had been rumors previously that Jared Leto's Joker might have popped up in it, but that was never actually done. It was never shot. At least that's what Variety is saying this morning. It was never done. It was never shot. This is a brand new thing. All right. But here's the second point that you're going to think is opposite to the first point, but I'm going to actually tell you it's connected. This is all good news.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is all good news.
I don't think that's opposite.
No, well,
I was waiting for a PowerPoint presentation. No, that makes a lot of sense. Of course.
If it's not this or if it's not that, then no. This is all good news. Listen, I'm sitting here telling you, right, remember, when they first came out and announced that they were going to be actually doing contrary to what they originally said in the HBO announcement, which was we're just going to do audio needs to be picked up. When they later came out and said we're actually going to do actual in front of camera reshoots, I said, this is not a bad thing. Every director is given an opportunity to do reshoots and pickup shooting and all that kind of stuff. This is a good thing. Number two, I am one of the few fans of Jared Leto's Joker, so I am personally very happy about this. I've always wanted to see him come back and play Joker again. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. Maybe this won't be a fit, but I'm excited about this. I think this is good news. And now that we look back at the head of Warner Media saying this is a radical rethinking, we're spending way all this money, all this kind of stuff, this is also a good thing. Because listen, as much as people don't want to acknowledge this, Warner Brothers did not like Zack Snyder's Justice League at first. They really didn't like it. They didn't like it so much that they made Joss Whedon come in and change a whole bunch of it. That's how much they didn't like it. Now they're getting something that they like even more. And by the way, Zack Snyder's a filmmaker. That means, filmmakers always say they're never really truly done with their movie. You know what I mean? Zack Snyder has had years to think about, oh, I did this originally. But you know what? I've got a better idea now. He has had years to come up with new ideas. And by the way, he got a chance to watch the theatrical cut of Justice League, which made him go, you know, I didn't like that. I would have done this. He's had years to come up with new ideas and new approaches and different ways to tackle this thing. And look, the bottom line is this. The debate is over. There was never a finished Snyder cut, and actually it was way less finished than even I thought it was. This is going to be kind of a different thing from what Zack Snyder's original vision was. But that's not a bad thing. We're getting Jared Leto back as Joker. He's getting to do these reshoots. He's getting $70 million to take any brand new ideas he had before and incorporate them in. This is a win. This is a win. If you are somebody, and there's one other thing, but if you are somebody who's been looking forward to a Zack Snyder, a different vision, a different version of that Justice League movie, I say this is good news after good news after good news. I think this is all positive. And I think it adds a lot. What I am very curious to see, and I don't want to sound pessimistic. I'm not jaded at all.
No.
But what I am very curious to see at this point is how many of these people out there who have constantly bashed on Jared Leto's Joker, and it's fine. So film is all subjective, right? We love some things, we hate other things. That's all fair. But I am curious to see how many people who have really hated the Jared Leto's Joker up to this point, but they're fans of Snyder Cut, are magically now going to go, oh no, I actually always liked the idea. And now suddenly they're going to think it's great that Jared Leto is playing Joker. And I'm going to go, bandwagoner. I've been on the Jared Leto train as Joker forever. And I've taken a lot of heat for that. And I get it. But it's going to be interesting to see how many people flip the coin now and say, oh no, I think Jared Leto's Joker is great because now Zack Snyder is going to put him in the Snyder Cut.
Or they're going to say, oh, well, now the Snyder Cut's ruined because Jared Leto's going to be in it.
You know what? There might be some of those.
I guarantee you there's going to be those people.
You're not wrong. There may actually be people out there whose hatred of Jared Leto as Joker is going to supersede their love of the idea of watching a Snyder Cut, and they may actually flip the coin the other way. You're right. For me, I think this is good news. I think the sounds of this Justice League miniseries, for me, is actually getting better and better and better. And to hear this approach that they're taking, I think sounds great. Anyway, Aaron, you heard about this Jared Leto thing. I know you're one of the people who did not love Jared Leto's Joker.
I have never seen Jared Leto's Joker.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase.
I've never seen Suicide Squad.
I know you're not the biggest fan of Jared Leto, but what do you think about this news? Like, what was the first thing that popped into your head when you heard about this?
I thought, great, they're expanding the world. And, you know, with the last time that I was here that I participated in this conversation, because I know you've had many of them, but with the last time that I participated, I said, you know, the second that this went from being Zack Snyder's film to Zack Snyder's miniseries, inevitably, we knew that there was going to be additional content that had to be filmed because it was never going to be a 4-hour movie or even
original cut. Was
but hold on. What I mean by that is it was never going to be sliced into individual segments. Right. And so if it was going to be a continuous 4 or even 5-hour film, it still wouldn't have, as we have come to know narrative television to be, you know, an individual episodes of a beginning, middle, and an end, and then a cliffhanger into the next episode. And so in order to create that kind of narrative, you have to film extra things. That's how storytelling works. So once we knew that it was going to go from one feature into individual segments, we knew that there was going to be additional photography filmed. You know, I don't have a problem with Jared Leto as an actor. I think Jared Leto is a brilliant actor. I think he's wonderful as a supporting character in American Psycho. Brilliant. In Fight Club, brilliant. In Dallas Buyers Club, brilliant.
Which you won an Academy Award for.
Exactly. I don't love the Jared Leto show. I love Jared Leto when he is inhabiting another character as a supporting character. And the thing that has always turned me off of Suicide Squad and his version of Joker is that, you know, in the other versions of Joker, with the exception of Jack Nicholson, there was something almost hidden about the characters. They had this large bombastic quality, but you only saw it in specific moments, you know, but in other moments, they were almost I don't know. There was just something about, I don't know, and maybe it was the off-camera antics that I just heard so much about.
Sending dead
yeah, that just turned me off. That made me go, is that really method, or is that just you being weird? You know, and that kind of turned me off. And visually, I wasn't intrigued by the look of the character, which is not totally Jared Leto's fault, but I'm actually intrigued by this because I do think that Jared Leto is such a phenomenal actor. And I'm wondering, in addition to Zack Snyder having all these years to think about what he would do different, I wonder, you know, for Jared Leto as an actor, having all this time and seeing another version of Joker coming after him, what he would do different with his version of Joker. And so I think it's going to be really curious to see how Jared Leto's Joker changes or evolves, if it does at all. I think it will. I think that whatever problems people had, and I do not think at all that actors should alter their performances based on what an audience says, because they should stay true to their characterizations. But there is a certain degree of like listening to, you know, what is the feedback and does it have any merit? And maybe through all of the vitriol and all the toxicity that people were spewing about his version of Joker, maybe they can find some nuggets of truth, and maybe Zack Snyder can go, here's what we're going to throw away from all that nonsense, but here's some ways that you can adjust your version of Joker. And I think that we're going to see a more refined version, less dead rats in the mail, and more, you know, intention as Joker. So I'm actually, weirdly enough, this news makes me even more excited. It's not surprising that there's additional footage being filmed, as we knew, but it does speak volumes about, I almost feel like this is Jared Leto getting a second chance, getting a do-over.
Well, maybe.
And I know that they're doing another Suicide Squad and blah, blah, blah.
But he's not in it.
Okay, well then there you go.
But this is what's exciting. See, there have been some very, very unsubstantiated rumors. Some that I don't even give a lot of credit to. But there have been whispers in the last couple of weeks that Warner Brothers was revisiting doing that Harley Quinn and Joker movie that they ditched years ago. And there have been some whispers about that recently. Wanting to have Joker in the movie is one thing. Getting Jared Leto to agree to come and do it is another. Jared Leto's got a number of projects completely lined up, including a new Tron thing apparently he's doing. Oh. And he felt very slighted by the fact that Warner Brothers...
His whole part was cut out.
Right, well, not just that, but that Warner Brothers went ahead and made, while he was kind of a Joker, they made a standalone Joker movie, which was amazing, by the way. But you got to get him to come back. Is Jared Leto, and I don't know, I'm just asking the question, is Jared Leto, an Academy Award winner Jared Leto, who's got like no less than 3 major films that he's leading coming up, is he going to come back to do a short bit spot in one movie? That's it? I wonder, this is no scoop here, I'm just telling you, I'm wondering out loud. I wonder if this isn't Warner Brothers machinations of also tying this into of actually reintroducing this Joker back in, of maybe moving forward. You know what? The Harley Quinn movie didn't work so well without Joker. Not that it would have worked better just because Joker was there, but maybe this is connected into larger things. Maybe there was something a little bit to these rumors about him doing that Harley Quinn movie with her a little bit later. Maybe this is their way of opening up the door. Maybe it brings Jared Leto back because, okay, well, if you come back and do this, we will also give you this, this, and this.
Sweetening the deal.
Sweetening the deal, making it a package deal. Again, be very careful. I am not breaking any scoop here. I'm not saying this is what's happening, not in the least. I'm just thinking out loud. That's why I find this exciting on several levels. Mm-hmm. One, that Zack is obviously, this movie he never completed, is being given a ton of money to do it. He's had years to think of new ideas, and he's clearly being given openings to implement these new ideas. The fact that we're getting, I know I'm one of the only people who likes Jared Leto's Joker, but the fact that we are going to get a chance to get Jared Leto on screen, even if it's for 30 seconds, but I'm excited about that. I just think there's so many good angles to this for a story that has been riddled with toxicity for years. I'm hoping a move like this, and now that it's very clear what the Snyder Cut always was not, and what it is going to be now. And now that that picture is becoming clearer, I'm hoping we get an end to that. And now everybody can just start getting excited now at this point, understanding what it was not and understanding what it is now. And I think this is good news.
But
and I know Tom's going to be excited for it.
Probably. I don't know. We haven't actually talked about it, but you know what? And also good on them for figuring out a way to keep us talking about this project.
Yep.
I mean, it's just every month or so, they just drop another little nugget of gold, another little piece for us to chew on as we're waiting. And do you know the release date of this? I know it's
Oh, no, all they're saying is 2021.
Oh,
they
Lord.
They really haven't given us a date yet.
2021 is 365 days long.
I know. It could be Christmas time. It could be summer.
Oh, goodness. So much to look forward to in 2021. Well, I'm excited about it regardless. And you know what? Good for Jared Leto for whatever negotiations he pulled to be able to, reclaim his role of Joker.
And we'll see what happens. Question is for you guys. I'm sure this is a whole storm cloud of mixed emotions swirling around everybody over this, especially people who hate Jared Leto's Joker but really love the idea of the Snyder Cut. How are you feeling today? How is everybody feeling about this? Maybe you love Jared Leto's Joker but you don't want to see him in Snyder Cut. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you're like me where you think this is actually great news. How are you guys feeling about this and why? Jump on down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of people bringing this up in the live topics part of the show, and that's what we're going to move into right now is the live topics part of the show. Once again, the way you can get a live topic or question on the show, simply use the tip link in the description of the video. That's streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's reasonable, and of course, you'll be supporting the show at the same time. Let's get into your live questions now. We're going to start things off here with Alan, who writes, "Hi, John/Rob. Rob's not here today. I like the Star Trek crossover that you proposed yesterday with Fast and Furious franchise. What would you say to a Transformers/G.I. Joe crossover, or maybe some of these characters becoming a part of those properties? #Orbit for Han." Well, listen, G.I. Joe and Transformers have had crossovers. They've crossed overs in the comic books. I believe they crossed over in animated form at one point. As a live-action feature-length film, no, I don't think there would be any interest in that whatsoever. Number one, there's never been heavy interest in the G.I. Joe live action movies as it is.
Which is shocking.
Which especially since you had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in one of them.
Yeah.
So they haven't really worked, and that's why they kind of stopped making them. Although we have a resurgence of G.I. Joe right now. They just finished shooting Snake Eyes with Henry Goulding from Crazy Rich Asians. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that sounds cool. But honestly, I don't think a G.I. Joe Transformers movie right now. Listen, if G.I. Joe becomes a very popular IP over the next couple of years on the big screen, maybe you could look at it, but right now I'm not seeing that.
And
happening.
Speaking of Henry Goulding, I finally saw The Gentleman, and you were right. It is a phenomenal film.
Isn't he good in it, though,
He's so wonderful in it. And who knew that Hugh Jackman was such a good, smarmy guy? Not Hugh Jackman, Hugh Grant. Sorry, totally different. Sorry.
Wait a minute, what
I know. I was Hugh Grant. Like where I'm so used to seeing him as the bumbling love interest in romantic comedies, and within the first 5 minutes, I said, "Oh, I really like Hugh Grant as the smarmy guy."
Charlie Hunnam, who I love him in Sons of Anarchy. I've never loved him in anything outside of Sons of Anarchy.
He was really good in this. And
he was great.
And you know what? I don't love Matthew McConaughey or Irish.
The girl from
guy. Irish. Dated Britney Spears.
Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell.
I love Colin Farrell in this.
See, yes. I love Matthew McConaughey and I love Colin Farrell, and I'm usually they're hit or miss for me in projects. I'm like maybe not. I loved both of them in this. I thought the storytelling was fantastic. I should have listened to you a year ago. I don't know why it took me so long, but yes,
heavy accent.
Oh, well, I watched it with the
that scene when Charlie Hunnam and his guys go into the kids' apartment where all the kids are, and it's
brilliant.
Okay, and you know what? That was my favorite film of the year up until 3 days ago, when I sat down and watched Trial of the Chicago 7 with
I haven't seen it yet.
That is now my favorite film of the year, but The Gentleman is still my number 2.
No, I had to within 3 minutes I was screaming at Tom, you got to put the closed captioning on. I don't know what the hell any of these people are saying.
It is. If you're
any Guy Ritchie movie, I got to watch it with subtitles.
The Germans. All right, let's move on here. Next up, we've got Willow, who writes, "It looks like a Sacha Baron Cohen week with both the Trial of the Chicago 7 and Borat." Borat comes out tonight at midnight, I believe. Do you think that he's most likely out of the cast of Chicago 7 to receive awards consideration? Are there other actors in the film that you'd nominate over him? Yes. Okay, so Sacha Baron Cohen is fantastic in Trial of Chicago 7. Absolutely. I would think the one guy who maybe did even better than him is Mark Rylance, who played the attorney. Mark Rylance is such a good actor. And oh my God, he nails this movie. So I'd say Mark Rylance, and then right below Mark Rylance, very close, would be Sacha Baron Cohen and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who I thought was incredible. And then you've got Newt Scamander, Eddie Redmayne. Eddie Redmayne was brilliant after that. Frank Langella, I think that's your pronounce his last name,
Langella,
as the judge. Oh my God, he was so good and so hateable. So good. But anyway, yeah, I would say Mark Rylance a little bit over him. Mark Rylance might actually be up for a lead actor in that. Sacha Baron Cohen would get a supporting nod, but he was great in that. Jay Bling writes, I disagree with Rob's assertion that justice for Han is served simply by virtue of Han being back. Shouldn't Han get to confront Shaw in some way for justice to be served? We heard Shaw say he has things he has to atone for. Yeah, I mean, that was a little nod. Him saying that in Hobbs and Shaw was a little nod to justice for Han, absolutely. But if Han ain't dead, there ain't nothing for him to atone for. No harm, no foul, as they say in basketball. No harm, no foul. So we'll see what happens. But listen, how many people does Dom and the family hurt when they're doing their movies? Like in the big action sequence, how many people do they hurt or maybe even kill along the way? So do all those families have to have justice for Eric and justice for Billy Bob and justice for whoever else? I don't know. But if he's still alive, to me, there is no justice, no need for justice to Han anymore. That's my take at any rate. All right, the Wakandan Forever writes, you know what is funny, John? I never noticed you don't have a movie rating system. No thumbs, tomatoes, or stats. I'm sure you probably explained this before, but I am curious. P.S. Thanks. I give your show 10 Vibranium Panther Claws, Wakandan Forever. Okay, so I don't know if you knew this as well.
I do know this.
You're right. I do not give scores when I do movie reviews. And the reason I don't is this. I always used to give scores. I would give, like, for most of my career, I would give it out of 10, right? I would give a score out of 10. Here's the problem, though. Nobody has a standard understanding of what a certain score means. For example, if I watch a movie that's really solid, like a good, solid movie, not like Oscar-worthy, but a good, solid movie that I enjoyed, to me, that's a 7 out of 10. You know, that's north of the middle. 5 is that balancing line between something you enjoyed and something you didn't. Above 5, you at least enjoyed it. Below 5, that's the middle ground, right? So you bump up a couple notches above that to 7, that's solid. The problem is, everybody has a different understanding about what each number means. Like, we live in this idiotic 10, 10, 10, 0, 0, 0.
Right.
Everything right. Somebody didn't like something mildly. Oh, that sucked. It's a 0. If something was good, it's the best thing ever. 10 out of 10. And what would inevitably happen is I would give something a score like a 7, which for me is saying, I enjoyed this. This is solid. And I would be bombarded with people like, John hated the movie. No, I didn't. I really like. Well, why did you only give it a 7's a good score? No, it's not. Well, then so since nobody had,
what's a better score than 6?
Well, yeah, exactly. So here's the thing: if me saying a number doesn't to you communicate, if me saying a number like a 7 means 85 different things to 85 different people, then what's the point of giving it a score? If nobody has a firm understanding, so I may go back to another rating system I used to have. Have you ever heard about my no-go or Routh rating system?
No-go or Routh?
Yes.
As in Brandon Routh?
As in Brandon Routh. Have you ever heard of my rating system on that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, so I used to have this rating system that I think I may go back to called No-Go and Routh. And some of you guys that can already see in the chat board, you remember the No-Go and Routh. So here's the thing. No would simply mean, no, don't go see this movie. Go would mean, yeah, go see this movie. There was a story a bunch of years ago when they were making Superman Returns with Brandon Routh as Superman. And it turned out the story was 100% true. what they had to do as they were viewing the dailies of the show, Warner Brothers executives saying it's a little obnoxious and distracting how big Brandon Routh's bulge is in that costume. And they, in a couple of shots, digitally reduced the size of the bulge. Now, I have a buddy of mine by the name of Darren Connolly, who used to do my original movie podcast with me, Movie Blog Audio Edition. And Darren Connolly said, wow, I guess you can say that Brandon Routh is the total package. And from that was born the rating system of no, don't go see it. Yeah, go see it. Or the movie's the total package. We gave it the Routh. So for a long time, our movie rating system was no go and Routh. But so yeah,
wow.
For years, I gave up on giving scores to movies of any type of rating. I just tell you what I think about it, and then you can take it with Routh instead of giving it a random number. So, but I might go back to no go or Routh.
I think that you should, just so that you can continue to tell that story over and over again. Wow.
I'll keep that story alive. Anyway, thanks for asking, Wakandan Forever. Okay, let's move on here. Next up, we've got Ryan, who writes, if there is a God and he is good, then for the love of God, let the last Fast and Furious franchise burn in the seventh circle of hell. The franchise lost me when they expected me to ever believe that Toretto could beat The Rock in a fight, aka Fast 5. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But the funny thing is, Ryan, that's actually when I started to really like the Fast and Furious. I hated Fast and Furious for the first 3 films. I thought it was terrible. And then 4 was like, you know what? That wasn't bad. Which I was surprised. And then 5 for me took it over the... Yes, them having Vin Diesel beat The Rock in a fight on screen was totally preposterous. But other than that, I liked it. You know what? Thing is, if a movie's not for you, then it's not for you. Allow other people to enjoy it. Like there are movies I hate, but like the prequels. I hate the Star Wars prequels. But you know what? If other people enjoy them, you go enjoy those films.
I love Grease too. A lot of people hate it.
Wait a second. Sorry, let me pause for that. You love Grease too?
I love Grease too. I love Grease too. Girl for All Seasons. Oh my God. We're going to bowl tonight doing triple pirouettes with bowling balls. No one can do that. That's amazing. The reproduction song. Oh my God. That's when I started puberty. I was like, now I know how sex works.
I've honestly never had.
I have seen Grease 2 so many times. I love it. Cool writer Michelle Pfeiffer at the top of a ladder. There's nothing sexier.
That was pretty much her introduction to the world, wasn't it? I don't know that it was her first
Scarface,
movie,
hello.
But wasn't that like her first because she was also appearing kind of in Scarface. I mean, that's Al Pacino. Nobody was looking at Scarface at that, but in Grease 2 it was like she became one of the attractions to the movie. It was like
it was like starring Michelle Pfeiffer. It was like her first, I love the movie. There you
go. That's awesome. All right.
I'm the only person who does.
You're the only person I know who does, but that's great that you do. I'm the only person who likes Vanilla Ice's
Shut up. Ice. Do not say that.
I love that movie so much.
What?
It's so bad.
Ooh.
But it's the most glorious, fun thing to watch.
Ugh.
Okay. Next up, Matt writes, Vin Diesel is like the Brett Favre of movie franchises. He just doesn't know when to go away and to do something else with his life. Also, I unabashedly love the first Fast and the Furious, even if it is a ripoff of Point Break. Well, you know what? Listen, it's not like Vin Diesel never went away from Fast and the Furious. He did. He went away, tried doing some other things with varying degrees of success, and decided to come back to the franchise. And people love him in it, and it's just been successful. And by the way, his movies continue to make at or close to $1 billion in this franchise every time they put one out. I mean, I think the lowest one in the past 5 or 6 years was like $800 million.
Yeah, why do people want Vin Diesel to go away when clearly a lot of people want him to stick around? And you know what? If a studio is willing to continue paying you, $100 million or whatever the hell it's not $100 million, but if they're willing to continue paying him, why should he go and do something else with his life? If you're going to be able to be paid that much money and you have people asking you to, come around, why would you go and do something else? Good for Vin Diesel.
Yeah, good for... By the way, Brett Favre, his second last season, he was second place in the MVP voting. I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay, let's move on here. That was Matt. Next, Ryan Lohner writes, I broke a tooth a few months ago. Ooh, that's not fun. Don't worry, my father's a dentist, so I was able to get it fixed within minutes.
Wow.
And ever since, anytime someone in a movie or show is hit in the mouth, it's on the same level for me as The Quiet Place nail. Oh, I get that, because did you see A Quiet Place yet?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's right, because you got to think about those types of movies. There's a scene in Quiet Place.
No, it's not that I have a thing about it. I'm just really annoyed that there's still billboards for A Quiet Place 2 coming out in March all over Los Angeles.
Yep,
and I'm like,
they're still there.
Yeah, we get it. Life 2020 is a shit show. Take that billboard down.
But there's a scene in the first Quiet Place, and this is a borderline horror movie with terrible, terrible things happening. But I have a physical reaction to something in the scene more than any other horror movie I think I've ever had. And it was mundane. There's a scene where, why am I forgetting Krasinski's wife's name? Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt is walking down the stairs in a basement carrying laundry.
Okay. I mean, you know she's going to get killed.
Or she was doing something. She was walking up the stairs earlier in the movie carrying laundry. And a piece of the laundry, she didn't see it, but the camera did, catches a bent over nail in the stair, and her pulling on the laundry like straightens up the nail. And then later in the movie, as there are these monsters around the house who are blind, but they only go by sound, she's walking down the stairs unaware of this, and the camera pans in the right shot, and she said, I've seen horror movies where the monster comes and rips off the person's head and then rips their lungs out through their stumpy neck and blah, blah. And you see, yeah, that's gross. I have never had a physical reaction like, no, because you see it coming, like she's going down the stairs, and then there's a close-up of the down there. Oh my God, no, don't do this. And then she steps on the nail, and I almost vomit.
Yeah.
I almost vomit.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
It reminds me, there was this product. It was like maybe Sally Hansen hard as nails. It was like something to make your nails really strong. And it showed a person opening a soda can with just their fingernail, and as they're pulling the tab up, the nail breaks in half, like halfway at the, like on the nail bed, and it was in slow motion. And I'm like, why would you show that in a commercial? It's so vile. And I have that reminds me of that. It's just that cringe feeling, that
visceral reaction you have to it.
Well, because we've all stepped on something, and it's, and it hurts. I stepped on a bee one time.
I've never stepped on a rusty nail, though. I've never stepped on a rusty. That sounds horrible to me. All right. Calvin Severo-Pano writes, John, is the Snyder Cut really the Snyder Cut? I can't believe Warner Brothers or Snyder would ever release in a 4-hour movie in theaters. Plus, with all this post reshoots and now even adding new characters, is this even what he wanted to show in 2017, or a Frankenstein's monster? Well, I mean, look, like 100% of movies, all right, maybe 99% of movies, their first cut is never what actually makes it to theaters, right? All movies are like that. Like you get, like my first cut of movie trailers, A Love Story, was like over 2 hours long. It's significantly shorter than that now. Lots of movies do. So yes, the first thing that Zack Snyder shot and then sat down with the Warner execs to watch was either at or around 4 hours. That doesn't mean it was ever going to be the final thing that actually makes it out of theaters. No movies are like that. So there's no, that doesn't make it any less Zack Snyder's movie. What I do think has become clear, again, especially now that we have the modern events today to look back on Greenblatt's statements when he says, yeah, no, Zack is only making his movie now. This is a complete, it's a radical rethinking of what that movie, and it's complicatedly wild and expensive and all that kind of stuff. But even if that's true, that doesn't take away that the core of it is still what Zack Snyder wanted to do with this story. Yeah, there are going to be details that change. Yeah, maybe even they're adding in characters and scenes that weren't there originally. Maybe this proves that his Snyder Cut was always radically less complete than anybody suspected. But that doesn't change the fact that at its core, it's still his vision. And again, like we said earlier in the show, that his vision has had a couple of years to evolve. It's like, yeah, I did that 2 years ago. Like, listen, I do things on a show last week that I look at and think, oh, I should have brought in this graphic instead of that. Oh, if I had done this instead, it might have made that segment a little bit more pop, a little bit more, right? We all do it. Zack Snyder is a creative director. He's going to do that too. And so while all you're saying is true, it is still also true, without being contradictory, that it is still at the heart of it his movie and kind of what he wants to bring about. Maybe he's getting to where he wants to go in a different path, but ultimately it's still his movie, and at least the vision he's trying to bring. Has Warner Brothers... I am curious how much of the new stuff is going to be what Warner Brothers wanted him to change, and how much of it is like the Jared Leto thing. I have my suspicions, only suspicions, that a part of this is, hey, let's get in Jared Leto's Joker because we want to do this, and this with them, or whatever. Or, again, Warner Brothers didn't like his movie originally. They didn't like it. So now they're okay with it. Does that mean they gave him some notes that he was going to take? I don't know. But every director gets handed notes.
Of course.
Every director makes changes. That doesn't make it any less their movie, and I think it is still his.
What I love is when you were reading the Greenblatt quote, was just imagining Bob Greenblatt walking around his office muttering, oh, I wish this was only going to cost me $30 million, popping Tums like Tic Tacs. I mean, the guy has probably got an ulcer the size of a golf ball right now.
Probably. All right, let's keep moving here. Next up, the other brother Daryl. Oh, I used to love that.
This is my brother Daryl. My other brother Daryl. Newhart.
That's what it was. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
1 of 3. Hey, John and Aaron. Greetings from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. I love Sudbury. It's a beautiful place. I'm a huge Resident Evil video game addict. The movies, not so much. Yeah, I don't like the movies much either. So when our local news broke that the new Resident Evil reboot just started shooting here in town, I was hardly interested. Let's move on. I was hardly interested, but I perked up when I heard that it's more faithful to the game. Night of the Outbreak origin story. Also, the cast includes Hannah John Kamen, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Tom Hooper, The Umbrella Academy, Robbie Amell from Upload, and that's also
Stephen Amell's
cousin.
Cousin,
yeah, they're cousins.
Oh,
that's his cousin.
Okay.
You'd think they're brothers. They look very similar, don't they?
They look like James and Dave Franco.
And Dave Franco, yeah. They look like, but they're actually cousins. Oh. Kaya Scodelario from The Maze Runner. And third, even with all this intriguing news, is this a case of an IP being too poorly played out already to get overly excited about a reboot, or am I being too skeptical? How do you guys feel about a new Resident Evil with the cast? Listen, I'm in the place right now, Aaron, where I don't care about it. I just don't care about it. I never liked the other Resident Evil movies. Now, that's not to say that when it comes out that I won't give it a chance and see if it can jump off the screen and really excite me and stuff like that. Absolutely, I will. But my amount of enthusiasm for this, and listen, I like Robbie Amell. Upload is a cute show. It was better than I thought it would be. Upload's a cute show, but do I see anything here that inherently gets me excited about this? No, but we'll see how it turns out. But right now, I'm not excited. Do you have any kind of enthusiasm for this right now? Nope, just nope. It's just a lot of nope around the board.
Nope.
Okay, next up, we got Chris827 writes, hey, John, I just saw on the Daily Mail that Quibi is shutting down after 6 months. Well, obviously, this came in before we started the show. 6 months of starting. Do you think that another streaming service will be successful with shorter episodes of content in the future? Thanks. All right, that's an interesting question. Can the basic idea of a major streaming service that focuses on shorter form content, can that work? Some would argue it already does. It's called TikTok.
That's like short form.
That short form. I still have to believe short form content can work, but it does face an uphill battle. Like, there's a reason why, Dove S.S. Simmons, the famous film instructor in Hollywood, says, make short film because you want to get noticed. Don't make short film because you think you're going to make any money.
Right.
So, I mean, that's true too. So I don't know. I'll say this, though. I have a hard time seeing anybody in the next 5 to 10 years coming along and investing a big amount of money to do what Quibi just tried to do when they saw what happened to Quibi. So is this even a general concept that can work?
I think it can work, but you can't go around asking a bunch of VC people to invest a bunch of money you have to already have a foundation. Let this be something that Disney minus. Apple minus, and make it sort of one of my favorite podcasts is a podcast called Happier with Gretchen Rubin. And she those episodes are long form episodes that are 45 minutes to an hour plus. And then she has these small episodes called A Little Happier with Gretchen Rubin. And they're 3-minute, just short bursts of, information. And I love those because there will be times that I'm like, I really want to listen to what Gretchen Rubin has to say about being happier. but I don't have an hour to invest into her episode. But I can go, you know what? Let me listen to one of her Little Happiers, and I'll listen to A Little Happier. Right. And it's kind of like how, remember when The Office and a lot of those TV shows were doing webisode tag along episodes, like you can watch the full episode, but then you could go to, The Office on YouTube and you could see like short episodes that were based on supporting characters.
You know what? The Flash was doing that for a bit because the Flash would have these mini webisode episodes with a couple of the supporting characters, and never the main characters, but a couple of the supporting characters follow them along. I think Walking Dead even tried to do that for a bit, where they had like a little side webisode thing about
The problem is that they were on different platforms, and so you had to, like, if you were watching the show, you then were going to go over to YouTube and watch something else. I think, like, let's say that there's a show that's really popular on, Apple Plus, but then as soon as the show ends, they go, they show a little preview before they even do the ending credits. They show a little preview of something that you can click on to watch a little mini episode, and then that's how they launch that. But like, don't ask people to invest billions of dollars for a whole new platform and try to reinvent the wheel and expect people to pay another $4.99 for another streaming service. Jeffrey Katzenberg would have been much better going back to his old pals at Disney and saying, hey, I've got a really great idea. I'm going to run your entire mini Disney platform or your mini Disney arm, and let it be part of the Disney world, so that you're not going to lose a ton of money. And then, and then you do mini versions of shows that already exist, that already have interest, and then get people excited about get people in the habit of watching mini shows. And then you can say, oh, if you like this, we also are introducing this new, short form project.
Right. It would be some. So I don't think
why
I
am I not a
new
studio executive? I'm so smart.
Well, listen, speaking of being smart, I know it's already 11:30, so I know you got places you got to be. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for bringing Joey along. In the meantime,
goodbye.
Where can people follow you and Joey's adventures?
Oh, if you're not an asshole, come visit me on Twitter at Aaron L. Cummings or Instagram at Aaron L. Cummings as well. And we will see you next Thursday with another Halloween costume.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you later, Joey. All right, guys, that was Erin Cummings. Make sure you go and follow her. But for now, we still have some time left and some more questions to get through, so let's keep on rolling here. Sam writes, like Cavill and Affleck, I never thought I'd see Leto return either. I can only suspect it will be a flashback on why the Joker lost his teeth and replaced them with grills. To me, it was a missed opportunity that he didn't share the screen in Suicide Squad. Here's the thing, though. Do we really expect that Jared Leto is coming back for some disconnected flashback? Like, why does Justice League... And I know you're being a bit facetious, Sam. I know. But I'm just saying, why would Justice League... Why does that movie need a scene completely unrelated to its narrative saying, oh, by the way, remember in Suicide Squad, Joker has just, let's do a flashback. What does this have to do with Justice League? So I can't see Jared Leto coming back to just do something so unimportant, right? Something that has no bearing on the movie, thus giving his character no importance. It is going to be really interesting to see how they work him into this. Again, I'm not saying they're not going to do that. I'm just saying I have a hard time imagining Jared Leto saying, come back, oh, you want to do some random flashback completely inconsequential to the movie about how I lost my teeth? Really? Okay, I got nothing else to do. Like, so I got to think there's going to be a little bit more meat to that. That doesn't mean I think he's going to have a lot of screen time. I don't. But something a little bit more substantive. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And I agree. We should have seen him interact with other characters more. I agree with that. Wiz R74 writes, hey, John, random, but in your opinion, who do you think would win in a fight? Spider-Man, the Miles Morales, or Nightcrawler? Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler wins that fight. He's far more experienced. He's got a much better grip of his power set. I mean, leader of Excalibur. I think Nightcrawler wins. I think Nightcrawler, actually, I remember me and a couple of buddies of mine were talking about truly legitimately underrated comic book characters, of how their power sets have been displayed and how we underestimate just how lethal they would be. I actually think Nightcrawler. But again, it all depends on who's writing the story, who's writing the fight. Is a Spider-Man writer writing it, or is a Nightcrawler writer writing it? That will determine who wins. But for me, all the things being level, I like the Spider-Man character more, even though I love the Nightcrawler character. I love his backstory. I love everything about Nightcrawler. But honestly, I think straight up, I think Nightcrawler wins the fight. But that's just me. And of course, we're talking about the X-Men character, not Jake Gyllenhaal from the movie Nightcrawler. Okay, next up, K Major writes, one movie that I would love to see on the big screen that I never did is How to Train Your Dragon 1. The first flight scene is breathtaking to me, along with that powerful music that's played during it. Just so I can say, this is why we come to the movies. You know what, K Major, you're absolutely right. And you know what that scene reminds me of? And since we're talking a lot about Zack Snyder's directed another movie that nobody ever talks about. It's called The Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Gaul. I believe that's the exact wording of the movie. The Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Gaul. And no one ever talks about this little animated film that he did. But I will tell you what, that is a big screen experience. Like when they do their aerial shots with them, you just feel immersed in it. It feels adventurous the way they're flying, and I can feel like the hair on my arms standing up. I've always liked that movie. And yes, scenes like that first flight when he's going in the clouds, that's just something that you can appreciate on your little piece of garbage TV. Like I got a 75-inch TV downstairs, a 4K HDR TV. It's a piece of garbage compared to a movie screen. To be there and be immersed in that, you're right. That would be something to see on the big screen. I think that's a good pick on that. And again, guys, if you haven't seen Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Gaul, little Zack Snyder film, it's one that tragically does not get enough attention. I think it's quite good. Don't get me wrong. It's not like Toy Story, but I think it's quite good. So you should check it out if you get a chance. All right. Chris writes, hey, John, I wrote back to you in July about my ideas for writing a script for the Power Rangers and saw your video today. That would have been yesterday. While I do agree with you that it is a risk to plan out a whole cinematic universe, I think it can be done if they focused on creating strong characters and an overall compelling story. The first half of the season, RPM, during the Disney era, showed a glimmer of that, what the franchise could be for an older audience. It was still for younger viewers, but aged up with a great story and characters. Where am I at here? With great stories and characters. I think they took a Mandalorian approach and established a PG-13 version first on a Disney Plus or a Netflix and use stagecraft technology. They can begin to pivot into an older demographic while still paying homage to the original series. Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. You can literally take anything. Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. You can take anything and say, oh, if you write it and focus on great storytelling with great characters, I mean, you can say that about anything. Right? Any inanimate object laying around, you can say that about your shoe. You can make a great popular TV and movie series about my shoe if you write a great script with a great story and have great characters and focus on character development. You can say that about anything. The Power Rangers is extremely problematic, especially when you consider that they recently put out a Power Rangers movie that, by the way, wasn't bad. I was a Power Rangers movie hater for a full year before that movie came out. I was talking about how that movie's going to suck and it's going to flop and it's going to be terrible. Even though I loved that Bryan Cranston was attached and I love Elizabeth Banks and Naomi Scott was in it. Even though all that's true, I said this movie's going to suck for like a full year. And then I went in to see it and I had to eat my words. I'm like, you know what? That actually was, it wasn't great, but I'm like, that wasn't bad. And even then, nobody watched it. I had people for a year screaming at me that I just didn't understand Power Rangers, and I just didn't understand how popular Power Rangers were. Power Rangers is going to make $1 billion. You guys saw on my old shows, you see, it's going to make $1 billion. You saw the comments. Made $145 million worldwide. And it was actually a pretty good movie. So it's probably, and now Hasbro now owns it. And they clearly want to focus on kids, but they're going to set it in the 90s, which I believe is a complete mistake. Listen, I believe there are ways to do Power Rangers that could be, by certain definitions, successful. I believe that. I just don't believe the way Hasbro seems to be going about it is the way that'll work. setting it in the 90s, I don't think that's going to work. How are you going to appeal? If they're saying they want to appeal to kids, but they're going to set it in the 90s, how does that work? I mean, and we talked about it a lot ad nauseum yesterday. So I just don't know. Again, I'm not poo-pooing overall on the idea of Power Rangers. I'm not. What I am saying is it just seems to me that the approach that Hasbro it wants to take with it is misguided. I just really think it's misguided. And you certainly don't come out and announce, we're doing this huge crossover cinematic universe with movies and television, when you're coming off a movie just a couple of years ago that was pretty good and totally flopped. That movie lost so much money. And instead of coming out and saying, you know what, we're gonna put out one new Power Rangers movie first to make sure we were heading in the right direction. I just thought it was premature. Sending it in the 90s, coming out saying you do this big crossover cinematic universe of television movies. I just think they're completely misguided on this. I really do. I think Hasbro is making some very bad decisions with Power Rangers, which could theoretically be a property that could still work, but it is what it is. All right, K Major writes, people are all up in arms about the return of Jared Leto's Joker, which I liked, by the way. I just find it funny for comic book fans to criticize his version of the Joker. We had several, and they're all different. That's what we see in comics all the time. Different versions of these fictional characters. Samurai Joker, anyone? Which sucked ass, by the way. Bat Nipples, anyone? I say let's see how he fits into the story, because that's important to me. Stay filthy. I agree. See, that's one of the things that I love about Joker in the movies, is that every time they do a Joker, they make it clearly Joker, yet clearly completely different from every other iteration of Joker they've done. And I've always appreciated that. Joaquin's Joker was very different from Jack's Joker. Jack's Joker was very different from Heath's Joker. Heath's Joker is very different from Jared's Joker, and so on and so forth. And I've always really appreciated that. And yeah, like I said, for me, Joker was one of the things that quite worked for me in Suicide Squad. And I understand I'm in the minority. I do. But I am perfectly comfortable being in the minority if that's what I really think. And I really thought it worked. Where does this Joker fit in to a Justice League story? No idea. No idea. I'm just kind of excited that he's going to be there. So that's just me. All right, next up, we've got Double Crit, who writes, bringing back Leto is a testament to the integrity of Snyder Cut. Rather than write him out because this Joker has been rejected by audiences, Zack is ensuring that he completes his 2017 vision. I think you're completely wrong about that. This is also a sad reminder that Snyder Cut could suck. I don't think adding this Joker is going to make it suck. And by the way, if Zack Snyder thought that adding in Jared Leto's Joker would hurt the movie, he wouldn't do it. Unless it's what Warner Brothers is making him do. I don't know. But look, one of the things that Variety report on was that Joker was never going to be in it. Because Zack Snyder has told us that he shot all of his stuff back then. And Jared Leto wasn't part of it. So I don't know how true this is. Maybe it was an idea he had, but decided not to do it at the time, but now he wants to do it. Or maybe it's something that Warner Brothers is making him do it. I mean, I don't know. I simply do not know. And anybody who tells you they know factually for sure, they're probably lying to you. But I don't know. But we'll see. All I know is that I, for one, think this is good news. And maybe I'm alone in that, but I personally think this is good news. And I'm looking forward to him appearing. And again, I'm very curious to see how Zack is going to fit in this character, which on its surface looks like this character has no place in a Justice League movie, at least not this Justice League story. So I'm going to be very curious to see how he fits him in there. I will anxiously await to see how he fits that in there. All right, Eddie Burton writes, read a report saying that when Michael Keaton appeared on Jimmy Kimmel and was asked about Flash, he was quoted as saying, "We're having discussions, as they say. We're talking about it. We'll see if it happens. I'm confused. I thought this was a done deal." It very well could be. It very well could be a done deal. It may be one of those things where Keaton gave a soft commitment, but let me see the true final script. And maybe they haven't got that in his hands yet. By the way, this Flash movie is a movie that was supposed to come out years ago. This is a Flash movie that's gone through 4 sets of directors and 5 sets of writers and has gone through, like, I think think they're on their 5th release date now. So, I mean, what he's saying could just be acknowledging, hey, look, they've been saying they were going to do this for a long time. Let's see if it actually happens. I mean, for all I know, there's a million different ways to interpret what Keaton's saying. Clearly, it's well beyond just, oh, we're talking about it. Clearly, it's well beyond that. So there are different ways we can interpret that. I wouldn't read, right now, Eddie, I wouldn't read anything into that statement. I wouldn't read anything into it yet. Let's see what happens later on. Superman Steve writes, hey, John, how are you? I'm doing very well, thank you. Will you be making your documentary available to Australia? I mean, my hope is that my documentary will be available worldwide. The reality is right now, I've got my high dream plans about how my movie's going to be distributed. And of course, your high dream plans only pan out 10% of the time. And then I have my base plan. Like if these super ambitious dreams of mine don't work out, then I'm going to distribute it this way. So my plan is to somehow, some way have it available worldwide. That is the plan. But again, I got a little bit of distance to cover between now and then first. But thank you for asking, Superman Steve. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, Jared Leto arrives on set. So I was thinking, what if I had a mustache like Cesar Romero's Joker? Hey, don't blame me. It was the Joker's idea. The last guy let me mail dead rats to everyone. Well, they never let him mail dead rats to people. A lot of people forget that Henry Cavill with the mustache was not the first time we had a DC character where they had to hide over a big mustache. Cesar Romero, who played Joker, of course, the Clown Prince of Crime in the original Batman series, he refused to shave his mustache. So in a number of episodes, when he was in there, you could clearly see they just caked over his mustache, Cesar Romero's mustache, with the makeup. And it was even more distracting than Henry Cavill's mustache was. All right, Preston the Kryptonian writes, hey, John and Aaron, I watched the episode of Lucifer where Aaron is on there. Wasn't she good in that? Nice work, Aaron. You look good. Still have a few episodes left, and I am enjoying it. I really enjoyed it. This season of Lucifer wasn't my favorite season of Lucifer, but I loved it. Loved it. It's just that I loved one or two of the other seasons a little bit more. But Aaron's episode was great. Aaron, of course, was great in it. And yeah, good things. I'm glad you're watching it. I cannot wait for Lucifer to come back. I love that show so much. Thanks for writing that in, Preston. All right, Alan writes, one of the greatest living directors making a film about making of one of the greatest films. I'm going to guess we're talking about Mank. No enough people, you mean not enough people, are talking about David Fincher's Mank. Have you seen its new trailer? I did. And the new trailer is definitely better than the first trailer. I was not impressed with the first trailer. I actually thought the first trailer was quite poor. Because, listen, if you've got a trailer where if you take away the name of the director and the name of the stars, if you don't still really love that trailer, then it's not a good trailer. And my kind of premise is if you took away Fincher's name and Gary Oldman's name and so on and so forth, and I just saw that trailer not knowing about David Fincher, not knowing that was Gary Oldman, whatever, is that a good trailer? No, it's not. That first trailer was not a good trailer. Did nothing to make me interested in that story. I knew nothing about it. It was flat. The second one that came out, though, I mean, I was still excited about the movie because of who's involved, but the trailer was terrible. The second trailer, though, that was better. Yeah, that's quite better. And again, though, it doesn't matter who's involved because it's a Netflix thing. I'm apprehensive because 90% of Netflix's original movie stuff that they air is usually garbage, with some exceptions. Trial of Chicago 7, The Irishman, The Old Guard. But for every one of those, there's 40 or 50 other pieces of trash, which is unfortunate. So my excitement's a little bit tempered because it's a Netflix thing, but we'll see. It's certainly got all the right names attached. All right, next up, Mike Y writes, curious to know your thoughts on The Chosen. I may be biased based off my religious beliefs, but I thought it was incredible. As the largest crowd-funded series ever, it should get more buzz. No, I never watched it. So I can't speak to it. I never watched it. I never heard a good amount of positive buzz to get me interested. The marketing for it never got me interested. I'm not saying the show isn't good. I'm just saying I haven't seen it to be able to tell you if it was good or not. So I can't say whether it's worthy of more buzz or not because I've never seen it, unfortunately. All right. Elminster writes, Hey, John, Rob, and Aaron, did you see that Lord of the Rings is getting the 4K treatment? So is The Hobbit coming December 1st. Yeah, don't really care. The reason I don't really care is I don't really care about 4K, to be honest with you, because, I mean, you guys can find tons of YouTube videos on this. Unless you're sitting a certain distance from your TV, the farther away you sit from your TV, the less 4K is actually noticeable over regular HD. And there are a ton of YouTube videos that break this down and all. You can go and look at them. And the reality is, I don't sit close enough to my TV. I don't really care about 4K content all that much. I don't. If I've got something that was shot beautifully and it's in really good HD, 1080, then it's as gorgeous as it's going to look. If you sit more than a certain distance away from your TV, it being in 4K, you're really not going to be able to tell the difference. Now, Double Crit just said something in the chat that I was about to say myself. Double Crit said in the chat, HDR matters way more than 4K, and you're absolutely right. High dynamic range is definitely more important. The amount of stops that you have is far more. Basically, we're talking about dynamic range. When we're talking about dynamic range, you're talking about the amount of difference between your deepest darks and your brightest whites, right? A lot of TVs that you go this far to go from your deepest darks to your brightest whites. But then there's some video that has a much wider scope of how different is the brightest whites from its deepest blacks. And you get a far bigger, that's what they call range, dynamic range. And you're absolutely right. That is 100% more important than 4K, HD, whatever. It is absolutely more important. But you got to have the right TV that can display high dynamic range. All right, next up. The Sock writes, if Wayne Industries made their own line of phones, would they call it the Orphone? Get it? Because Bruce Wayne is an orphan. Also, how does Bruce Wayne get away with just making decisions single-handedly and saying F you to the board every time he does something they don't like? Well, the way he can get away with that... Okay, look. Theoretically speaking, the highest authority in any company, theoretically speaking, from an organizational structural point of view, is the board of directors, right? So Bob Chapek is now the CEO of Disney. Great. But he still has to answer to the board of directors of Disney, who, by the way, Bob Iger is still the chairman of the board of Disney. So yeah, Bob Chapek's now the CEO. He's the guy who runs the day-to-day of Disney, but he answers to the board. Bruce Wayne often is like playing fast and loose with the board of directors of Wayne Industries. How can he do that? Here's how. While it is true in an organizational chart that the highest of the hierarchy is the board of directors, there is actually one level above the board of directors, and that is the shareholders, the people who actually own the company. They are the ones who vote on and approve who will be on the board of directors. The board of directors, the CEO has to answer to the board has to answer to the shareholders. And if Bruce Wayne still owns most of the stock of Wayne Enterprises, that means he is the de facto owner. There's a board of directors, but ultimately he can still do what he wants to do because he's still the owner of the company. You know what I mean? So theoretically there's that. But don't take what I say too. I mean, I'm not a MBA. I don't have like multiple MBAs or PhDs in economics or business studies. So whatever. But that's just generally, that's how Bruce Wayne can get away with it because he's still the majority owner of the company. If he is. All right. Jesse writes, honestly, the thing that got me most excited for Uncharted are these new photos released. Seeing Tom in the full Nathan gear has put some of my fears about him not looking like Drake at ease. I think he looks great. But most importantly, I love seeing that Nolan North, Nathan Drake himself, is on set too and saying he's happy with the job Tom is doing. Also, Tom sitting down with Neil Druckmann made me feel that they are treating this project with a lot of respect. And of course, Druckmann is like one of the creative directors behind the game. And yeah, I mean, look, they're trying everything they can do to do it justice and do it right. They understand that there is a massive fan base behind the game already. their number one job is still not to make the fan base happy. Their number one job is to make the best movie possible. You make the best movie possible, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to make the fan base happy, right? But it's good to see that along the way, they are taking steps to try to make sure it's not an either or, that it's a both and. How can we make this the best movie possible? And at the same time, make sure we're connected to the core roots of the game that a lot of the fans love, and how can we implement that as well? It's a good start. It's a good way to go. So well said. Well articulated, Jesse. All right. Starscream writes, greetings, John and family. I don't have a question due to the slow return to movies. Just wanted to support your show with what I can, because I believe your show is very important to all of our morale in the movie watching community. Take care and stay healthy. Oh, thank you so much, Starscream. I appreciate that, man. It is, you know, it's pretty incredible. If you had told me in January that we're about to have a global pandemic and there weren't going to be any more movies coming out in theaters for like 7 months, but the show would still be on, I would have thought, how is that even possible? And I've taken a break, and I might take another break in the next coming month or two. I might put the show on hiatus again for a few weeks. I don't know. But it is crazy that like the passion of film fans, like we love talking movies and we love talking entertainment and the art of storytelling, whether that's in a streaming format or on a big screen or whatever. We just love talking about storytelling, and yet here we are. And I think that's a testament to how much we as fans just love talking about storytelling. All right, next up, we've got Jalen Pryor, who writes, hey, John, sorry I don't tip much. Just wanted to ask, whatever happened to the Hit Girl show / movie? I know they had a director and they seem to have Chloe Moretz back. What happened? Also, in my opinion, Kick-Ass popularized the R-rated superhero genre more than Deadpool. Not really. I mean, realistically, let's look at this, because how many people really saw Kick-Ass, right? Kick-Ass did okay for what it was, but you know how much money Kick-Ass made at the box office worldwide? 400 million? Nope. 300 million? Nope. 200 million? Nope. The original Kick-Ass movie worldwide made $96 million. And I loved it. The people who saw it really liked it. And that's, by the way, $96 million ain't bad for a movie that spent $30 million to make it. The point is, it's not like it kicked the doors open, right? A movie that made south of $100 million didn't revolutionize the idea of an R-rated comic book movie. It just, not with those types of numbers. And then I believe Kick-Ass 2, I think it did even worse. I could be wrong about that, but I think it made even less. Yeah, Kick-Ass 2 made $60 million worldwide. $60 million worldwide. That is simply doesn't achieve a popularity level enough to say it made any real influence or difference, except for those of us who watched it and really liked it. And by the way, nobody talks about how good Nick Cage is in that first one. That, to me, that was the big problem with the second one, was that fact that it didn't have Big Daddy. I think that movie really needed Big Daddy, but that's just me. What can you do? What can you do? All right. And as far as what happened to Hit Girl, like most movies, like we talk all the time about this, 95% of movies that get a director attached and all that kind of stuff, 95% of those never actually get made. Like getting into development is very, very different from getting a green light. And a very small percentage of films that are lucky enough to even get into development actually then make it to that final part where they actually get a green light. So what happened to it? Just never got a green light. It's not like it was on and they had a shoot date and all that. No, it never got to that point, unfortunately. All right, because I would have been interested in seeing it personally. Let's see here. Hank Dunn writes, I guess Tom Holland is stepping on uncharted territories. I'll give you the drum shot for that. All right, Jalen Pryor writes, also, John, if Erin's still there, unfortunately, she just stepped away, or if she's left by the time you read this, please tell her thank you for giving me motivation to keep doing acting. I know it's a lot of free, non-paid roles, but as a student at Toronto Film School, trying to keep going. Thank you. Hey, listen, I'm sure Erin would love to hear that. And listen, acting, trying to get into acting is incredibly... Look, there's a reason why when a kid says to their family, I want to move to LA and become an actor, why families say, you'll never make it, don't do it. Because most of the time they're right. You won't make it. I told the story yesterday about how I put out a casting call for this tiny little role that really didn't pay much on an AMC show I was doing. And I mean, it felt like hundreds of thousands of like how many resumes came in was overwhelming. To this day, whenever I put out like a casting call, like it's in the high hundreds, if not thousands, for some dinky little YouTube show, because that's how many people, like every waiter and waitress and bartender in this town is an actor. And probably really talented, that were the most talented, gifted, handsome, or beautiful people in their towns. And they got on a bus and came to LA and tried to make it work. I had a very good friend of mine. She actually came from Canada down to Toronto before me. We were friends in Canada. She made the move down to LA. She was having success as an actress in Toronto. She was very, very talented. And she came down here and for years couldn't get a single break, was going to auditions all the time and taking all the right acting classes. And she was very good, but she was here for years and not one single break. And eventually she had to pack up and move back home to Canada. That's the reality of it. That is the reality of trying to break into acting. Now, I don't say that to dissuade you. I actually say that to let you know that if for whatever reason it seems hard, you're not alone. But look at what the payoff is. If you do make it and you do get that break, then it can be an incredibly lucrative, fun, a dream-like career. But it's very, very, very difficult. You know, somebody asked yesterday, why doesn't Dylan O'Brien get more roles? It's like, why would he? Every role that he wants, there's 5,000 other people who are probably also very, very talented, all vying for that role, right? Don't ask why doesn't he get more. Ask, wow, it's pretty amazing that he's gotten the roles that he has. I mean, it is crazy. It is a crazy world. All right, quotes by Aaron writes, just don't start doing cocaine and you'll be fine. That is a quote that we should absolutely use another time. That is absolutely a quote that maybe we should put on a t-shirt. All right, Rick James writes, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Cocaine. That is one of my all-time favorite sketches that Chappelle's ever done. That is one of my all-time favorite Chappelle sketches, by the way. Let's see. TJ from Kansas City writes, I wonder if Quibi will sell off their content library so I can finally see some that I was vaguely interested in. They'll do something, but honestly, who's going to buy it? That's the tricky thing. You've got all this content and IP, but who's going to buy it? Like, nobody watched it before. Why would they watch it now? If anything, I'm guessing like it'll end up on YouTube or something, but who knows? Maybe there'll be somebody who'll be willing to pay like $500,000 for their entire library. I mean, I don't know. It's just hard for me to imagine. I can understand why Quibi would want to sell it. I just can't imagine why somebody would want to buy it. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. All right, final question of the day, guys. Then we got to wrap things up here. Where are we at? We're at an anonymous viewer writes in. A couple of big YouTube creators like Mr. Beast and David Dobrik reached out to Quibi to do some shows and were turned down or ignored. Not sure why they didn't let these creators thrive. I'll tell you why they didn't let their creators thrive. I mentioned a little bit earlier. There was a thought in the early days of YouTube stars blowing up that, oh, these people are stars. If we just transfer them over to whatever we want to call regular media or whatever, they'll be even bigger and better. But it didn't happen. There were many, back in the early days of AMC, when I was at AMC, my early days at AMC, not like 100 years ago, the early days of AMC theaters, but in my early days at AMC, there were many, a lot of people may forget about it now, but there were many moves of television networks and more mainstream media trying to, more traditional access media, trying to pick up a big YouTube star and transition them into more of a traditional model. And they just thought for sure all these millions of people who watch Shane Dawson. And by the way, I've met Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson's come into my studio before. I think he's a delightful guy. I don't know much about Shane Dawson, to be honest with you. I'm just telling you, I met him once, and he was a very, very nice guy to meet. So I'm just using him as an example. Super famous YouTube personality. And so they thought, let's give these kids some money to make a motion picture that we'll put in theaters, and it'll be great. And I think they also tried it with the, what's it called? Not Masher or Smasher or whatever it was called at the time. There was another body that they raised some money that they could do something with, and it didn't really amount to anything. And then there was this famous girl who was like this big YouTube star, and they tried to give her a show, and that sort of sunk. I think probably what the execs at Quibi, and I don't know this for a fact, but they probably were thinking, and maybe they were right, maybe they were wrong, but their line of thinking was probably, it was tried before to just take YouTube stars and give them big budgets and a different platform, and that'll automatically translate to all the people who watch them on YouTube. They'll come over and watch them here, and that's not what happened. It didn't work. So that's probably what they were probably thinking. We want to take the model and get the traditional big stars that make tons of money at the box office and on television, put them in this format, and it didn't work. Didn't work, but I don't know that it would have worked with famous YouTubers either. I am a YouTuber, and I'm saying this. So yeah, it's something to be to consider there. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment. There are still more questions that were sent in from Sharkez, Hector, Robert, Cam on Camera, and a couple of others. Do not worry, guys. On tomorrow's show, we will address your questions first. When we get to the live questions part of the show tomorrow, we will start with yours. You sent them in. They're going to get answered. So don't worry about that. We'll pick up with that tomorrow. Guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show a part of your day. Thanks to Aaron Cummings and, of course, little Joey Bishop being here today. And, guys, a special thank you to all of you who sent in those live questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel while you did it. And all of us here, thank you so much for that. Guys, don't forget to do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.